Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. Girls. So, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, I thought today we kind of do a little bit of everything. Everything from sales tax to how long you should keep a unit, as you put it, Jason, to trying to get stuff in and out of the shop as quickly as possible. So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Wednesday, March 12th. So, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, when I read through the comments, I get a lot of my content from that. It's just trying to explain more in depth what you guys want to hear and know more about. And the one thing that kind of stuck out was, I think it was you, Philip, asking, well, I'm paying sales tax on the parts and everything now. Girls, do I charge sales tax again? And that's a double-edged sword. Because I can tell you right now, if you're selling your products on eBay and Amazon, you're fine, because eBay and Amazon are collecting the tax for you. I'm not so sure on Amazon, but eBay is, all right, and they're paying it directly to the state. So on my year ends and on my sales tax, the government knows that the bulk of my sales are online through the venues, and the venues are collecting. And they're okay with it. I'm okay with it. It makes things a heck of a lot easier. But now, if you are a shop owner and you're buying your parts online and paying sales tax, do you also charge your customer sales tax on it? And part of it would be no, because you've already paid the sales tax. But, there's always a but, you're going to have to prove that every time. And I'll tell you, it's a lot of work and hard to sit down and have to keep track of that, to show the IRS, the sales tax department, that it's already been taxed. What's the better way? The better way is, you as a business owner, if you've got a tax ID, is to do the necessary paperwork with the venues. Because it doesn't matter whether it's, if you were dealing with me online and you were running a shop and you were charging sales tax on the other end of buying the parts from me, if you did a simple form that makes you tax exempt, because you're actually charging sales tax on that product in the end, so that the government is getting their tax. That's all the government cares about, is that you're doing it legitly. So what you need to do is, you need to figure out where you're primarily getting your parts from. If it's eBay and Amazon, fill out the form. That makes you tax exempt. But you need to show where you collected that sales tax. And you need to pay that in at whether you're doing it quarterly, annually, bi-yearly, bi-monthly, whatever it is. You need to show and pay in that sales tax. So if you're dealing with, one of you mentioned parts trees close by you, If you got a sales tax number, there's no reason why they can't sell to you tax exempt. But remember, on my end, if somebody fills the form out for being tax exempt, I need to prove this is the form. And if they're not tax exempt and they filled the form out like a farmer, that's on them, not me. We still have to do our due diligence to make sure that whoever we allow to have tax exempt status is that we know in our mind that what we see is being truthful, you know? So the short answer is technically no, I think. But I've always charged sales tax on stuff. There's some places where I didn't bother filling out the form and I got charged the tax. And I just worked it into the selling price of my profits and charged sales tax on top of that so that I could show, the sales tax department that I was doing my due diligence of keeping accurate records and collecting for them. Because that's the key. You're not collecting for yourself. This is not your money. This is, in my area, this is New York State's money. I don't pick what sales tax percentage people should pay. That's decided by the state. And it goes into a bigger thing, being divided up. The state gets so much, the county gets so much, and that pays county workers for keeping the roads clear, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So each county may be different in New York State, but you need to know what your county expects you to charge for sales tax and what to collect for sales tax. Again, if you're buying online and you are a reputable business and you do have a tax ID, it doesn't take much to fill the form out and either mail it back, fax it back, what have you, so that they can put you on tax exempt status that you're a retailer and you're collecting the tax on your end. Again, all that the state and the county want you to do is just collect the right amount of sales tax. Okay? So that takes us into the next one with you, Jason. And I can agree to disagree on some things. I agree that you shouldn't take it back a lot of times the same day because it hasn't had a time to cool down. And we had just that example where, like on a customer with a snowblower, he had burnt the belt up on it. And Claude went through and checked everything, put a new belt on it, and we got it right back to him. Made sure that it blew snow and that it wasn't smoking belts. What had happened was when we got it, the actual chute was actually frozen because it didn't let it clear out. But there was a big chunk of ice around one of the impellers towards the lower end, and he decided to try to snow blow and it wouldn't blow because it was froze. So what gives? The belt. So that was an easy fix. Throw the belt on it, pick up, drop off, hours labor, and the belt. I don't want to say easy peasy because it took a little bit of time, but it was in and out. And we collected our money and the customer was thrilled that they got their stuff back in a timely fashion. We will, if possible, get the units back in a timely fashion. Now, on a generator that we got in from the same individual, we had the fuel in it was a couple years old and said it didn't want to start. What had happened was fuel wasn't burnt out of the carburetor because the fuel shut off, and it wasn't his fault. The screw loosened up so that you couldn't tell where the tank was on or off. So he thought it was off. It was on. He ran it for a little bit and then shut it off and parked it. Been sitting now without being started in probably 3 years. Drain the tank, drain the carburetor, put new fuel in it, tried giving it a start, and it would only run on carb cleaner. So I explained to Claude, I said, check the fuel solenoid. Because we check spark, compression, all that first. So check the fuel solenoid. Is it working, and is it working properly? So he took it out, and it was right full of rust. A lot of these you can clean up. Takes a little bit of time and patience, but keep moving the plunger, spraying it with carb cleaner, get all the crap out of it. And the O-ring on it. If you've had it out, replace the O-ring. A lot of times that after setting it with gas and stuff for a long period of time hardens up, okay? And he didn't. He went ahead and just put it back on. Well, that cured the problem of starting. But now it was leaking gas around the O-ring. So he had to take it back apart and replace the O-ring in it and put it back together. Now, as far as I knew, it was ready to go, right? But we hadn't let it sit to where it was cold, as you say, Jason, to see if it would cold start. And the guy had called me that afternoon and he wanted to know if there was an issue. And I said, not that I'm aware of. I said that we drained the old gas out, put in new gas, put in PRI-G as a treatment in it, took the fuel solenoid, electric solenoid out, cleaned it, put it back in, drained any water from the tank, and we tightened the fuel shut off so that it had a true reading of where it was on or off. And I explained to him that Claude only works half days, so the earliest would be the following morning. And good thing we waited till the following morning, because when Claude came in, he said, well, we're supposed to do an oil change on that. Really? I didn't know that. And he said, yeah. He said, the guy had told him, he wanted an oil change on it too. So we went ahead and did an oil change on it. So, did that, and then went to start it, and it wouldn't start. So Claude gave it a shot of carb cleaner, and it started right up. He said, fixed. I said, no, it's not. It's not fixed if the customer has to use carb cleaner to start his generator. It's fixed when you pull the choke out and you hit the switch and it fires up on its own. Said that carburetor somewhere, needle, seat, what have you, there's something in there, piece of dirt, something that's causing it to not draw the fuel right. So Claude took the carburetor off, cleaned it all up. All the orifices, used carb cleaner on it, put it all back together, and supposed to go back that morning, but the guy was having problems trying to catch his cat, take it to the vet, and then his grandson got sick. So it was good that it stayed an extra day, because I wanted to hear it start on its own while it was cold, not with carb cleaner. Carb cleaner's fine to get it started at the beginning of the season where it's been setting for long periods of time, but not when we've had it running before, not running at least in the last day or so. So by the following morning, a cold start, bam, right there. Pull the choke out, nice twin cylinder, liquid cooled, Honda on it. It was purring like a kitten. That I could put my name on and send home. But I wasn't willing to put my name on it if you had to use carb cleaner on it to get us to start. And that's where Jason's coming from. Is had that gone back, it would have had to be a redo. And a redo is my customers don't use carb cleaner to start their units. They do it the way that the directions tell them to do it, and that is to choke it, hit the switch. Once it starts, take it off choke. And I would have felt obligated to whatever extra time we had to put into it the following day, because we would have had to go pick it up. I wouldn't have billed the customer. That's where Jason's coming from. Let it sit for a day or two to make sure it's a cold call, cold start, if it has anything to do with the engine. If you're replacing belts on a snowblower and you can physically see the auger is froze and you get it inside the shop where it can defrost, you put a new belt on, everything fires up, that's good. Take it back, but also explain to the customer you need to make sure that all the snow and ice is out of the auger system. If not, and it's kept out in cold storage, it will freeze solid. But the heat of the unit going around touching metal to metal is going to keep it warm and liquid. And the minute it gets into cold storage, guess what happens? She freezes just like a block of ice. That's why you burn the belts up. Burn the belt up. And lastly, I want to talk about inventory. What should you carry for inventory? All right. Now, things have changed a lot in the last few years. Used to be you could carry your common air filters, fuel filters, oil filters, etc., and have those in stock. You could actually do it as a pre-season order, right? Through the companies, aftermarket, OEM, what have you. But like Jason says, you need to be careful because now they're changing it up every couple of years. So prior to this, we were buying the parts from them. And when I say them, it's either the aftermarket companies or the OEM distributors. We weren't buying it on China and eBay and Amazon and that, right? So the manufacturer has changed how often they're going to continue using a certain part, whether it be an air filter. I mean, oil filters are still pretty much standardized, but your air filters have been changing a lot. A little bit here, a little bit there. But to do a preseason order on what you sold last year, be very careful about it because a lot of stuff is becoming obsolete in a couple of years. You know, to go through a $20,000 preseason order is a lot more difficult now than it was just 5 years ago, 6 years ago. But if you're not willing to change with the times, you're going to sit on a lot of new old stock that's not selling. And it will destroy your business. I've stopped doing preseason orders entirely. I know that I stock up on the oil filters. I stock up on one fuel filter in particular that we can use on just about any of them. It's a generic one. I get my oil. I run the synthetic and everything now, and you can get it right at Walmart. But I happen to have a guy. He's actually 94, and I bought my oils and antifreezes and everything like that through him the last couple of years. I was buying it at Tractor Supply for hydraulic fluid. My oils I was buying at Walmart. But this fella here, for the synthetic oil and the hydraulic fluid, I buy it in the 5-gallon drums, and he's cheaper than even Tractor Supply and Walmart. When you figure it out, he's cheaper. But I'm buying it in 5 gallons versus a gallon, gallon and a half, or whatever you get at Walmart. Tractor Supply is running around $12, $15 more per 5 gallon tub than he is. And I know through my guy I could get it cheaper yet if I went to the 55 gallon drums. And we had done that in the past. You know, when my son was selling oil, I was buying hydraulic fluid and engine oil fluid by the 55 gallon drums. Fully synthetic engine oil, 10W30, and hydraulic fluid high grade. But with his discount, it made it feasible. But when it comes right down to it, it's you need to run a shop that is light on its feet. And the way to do that is not to have a lot of parts in stock. Now, one of you had mentioned like a boneyard where you're taking parts off old machines to fix other old machines. And that's fine, but like every couple of years I get the boneyard cleaned up. It has a way of just growing all by itself, but it's a nice little chunk of change when the price of metal is up. Get rid of it, you know. But I've got carburetor kits, I've got parts for air filters and stuff that are no longer available and have become obsolete. And I'm selling those on eBay to clear out that inventory. I have been for quite some time. And the people that are buying it off me are ones that have the older machines that can't find that part anywhere else. So they're cleaning my inventory out for me. But the difference of what I paid for a lot of those parts to what I have to sell it for when I compete with the Chinese market is crazy. You have to understand that I've still got OEM home-like carburetors, chainsaw carburetors, that cost me $60-some a piece. And they're selling supposedly the exact same carburetor with gaskets, primer bulb, if you need one, fuel lines, the complete shebang with a fuel filter for less than $10. You aren't going to compete. I don't care, even with the tariffs, you're still not going to compete. Because the manufacturers and the OEMs have gotten where they can't compete. But it makes me wonder, how much money were they making on us before? Because they've been having stuff made for them over in China for a long time. How much of a markup was there from what China was charging them to make that product to selling it to us? I understand that the more hands that are there, the more expensive it gets. But what did the manufacturer make off from it? Or if the manufacturer sold it just above cost to distributors, what did they make off it? So if you're out and about and you have to go to a dealer to buy a part, and the part is a crazy number, understand he's probably not making squat on it. He's just trying to get it out of his system. So Jason is spot on when he says don't stock up on a lot of parts because you'll end up sitting on them. Do your oil filters by the case if you want. Fuel filters by the 25 count. I can give you a part number if you need a part number from Rotary or Stens. You know, to buy them, you can buy them online. You know, right on eBay or Amazon, probably by the 25 packs. They're a standard fuel filter, directional. But we pretty much, with the air filters, I've got probably 75 different air filters on the wall in the one room. And most of those are the new old stock. There's probably 7 or 8 of them that are the new stock that are moving. Okay, but them older ones, I'm gonna end up probably throwing them in a box and listing them on eBay as a group just to get rid of them. Because I know even if I had an auction at my house or at the shop, I wouldn't get squat for them. So on that note, you guys have a great Wednesday. We'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. You guys have a great day.